Hello and welcome to an RC. This is quite an important video actually because you're looking at my Traxxas TRX4, which I've had, must be over a year now. Yeah, it must be. I've had it for a while anyway, and since I've owned it, it's never had a strip down. All it's had is just a clean, as you see it now, you know, some water, whatever. It is in a bit of a state and it needs some TLC. So this is going to be a start of a video series for me doing a complete strip down and rebuild. I was going to leave it till it died completely, but it hasn't died completely, but it won't move on here because it's diffs are locked and yeah, too much grip. But it's starting to creak and crackle, so that the bearings are definitely on their way out. They're probably well past their best because I have absolutely battered this truck. The only thing I've had to do is put a new motor in because I was climbing in second gear and it fried the motor. But the rest, nothing else has gone wrong at all. It's been absolutely fine. So you can see, we turn it over. I mean, externally it looks okay, but yeah, it's proper filthy and there's all sorts of stuff going on. Try and I mean, it doesn't sound too bad when it's not under load, but when it's under load, it's pretty bad. So what are we going to do? Well, what am I going to do, I should say? Well, I've ordered a bearing kit to start off, stainless steel bearing kit. So I'm going to have the axles completely stripped down, portal axle, the diff, sorry, and the portal axles are going to be stripped down as well. All the bearings are going to be replaced. Everything is going to be cleaned, re-greased. I haven't even taken the covers off, the axle covers off, and re-greased any of the gears inside either. It's as it came out of the box, and it's been through mud, through all sorts of stuff, and it still runs okay. Still runs pretty good. It's noisy, as you would expect, particularly apparent next to my SCX10 when I went out yesterday using this first and then the SCX afterwards. Yeah, it's noisy, it's loud, so it needs some TLC. Andrew's been on at me for ages, and I wanted to see how long it would last before something just seized and it went wrong, but that could be then a bit too late. So my plan is to get rid of, well, I've actually bought the kind of diff lock kind of shaft. I don't know what you call it now, diff tool or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember the name, but I've ordered one today. And I'm going to get rid of the diff locking servos because it's a good gimmick and everything else, and it's useful if you want to razz around a car park or whatever, but I've got a basher for that now, and 95% of the time, probably a bit more than that, I run with the diffs locked. So I wanted to change the radio gear. Well, I have changed the radio gear to my Spectrum. I took the Traxxas one out and I only put a 3-channel in there. So I've only got the gear selector servo working. So these two are redundant. So I want these locked all the time. And what keeps happening every now and again, you're going over boulders and things like that, they unlock the diffs and I've got no way, apart from pulling these cables manually, of locking them back. And that's just a faff, taking the body shell off and doing that. So these servos are coming out. All these cables are going, and then I shall put the accessory stroke, I forget what it is now. I'll have to find out what it is and write it down. Apologies for that, I should have done the research before the video. But yeah, so that's coming out, and it will just make my life easier. I won't have to keep messing around. I am finally ditching the IROCs. I am sorry to say, but I hate these tyres. I really do. I bought them thinking that they'd be really good for kind of all round. I've never used them on rocks because we don't really have rocks here in the UK. They're pretty good on tree stumps, tree logs, but I don't really use them on that for any log. We've got a few locations where we kind of do log challenges, and they grip really well, but for everything else I find they are awful. Loose stuff, mud, I don't know whether it's this truck. Well, I've tried them on the SCX, and they just, compared to the Proline Super Swampers, which are a good all-round tyre, because I don't want to keep changing tyres all the time, these don't even come close, in my opinion, for what I use them for. So on rocks, I'm sure they're absolutely amazing. So these, again, going off, they're being cleaned up and they're being sold. I've actually got the kind of copy Super Swampers that I've got on my MC, because they're a lot cheaper. I haven't got money to throw at it, so they're like £20 rather than 50, and they work just as well. So yeah, I'm going to be putting some harder foams in as well, and I'm also going to be looking for a lighter body, because the one big problem with the TRX4 is the fact the Land Rover shell and the tactical shell that I've got, it just makes it roly-poly, especially when the tyres are really squishy like this and soft. The body shell is really heavy with the kind of integrated, screwed in wheel arches. My tactical shell is especially heavy because it's got the 3D printed window guards as well, and it's got an interior and bits and pieces and loads of lights and things. So I'm going to probably go for the Proline Ford body. Again, I will put a link in the description of the one I'm talking about. I can't remember the exact details, but it's like I think it's like a Ford Raptor type thing. But it's just going to be a light Lexan body shell, and it fits this chassis. So I'm going to paint that up. It's not going to be fancy. I possibly won't even have an interior. I want to keep it light, and I want to bring this truck back to, you know, what I want it to be. The shocks as well, they've never been open. I've never changed the oil in the shocks. I know, I'm a bad owner. But, you know, this truck was kind of my basher crawler truck, if you like. And I didn't want to be maintaining it all the time. And I just, you know, this thing is hard as nails. It's one thing I will say for Traxxas. This thing is tough, seriously tough. I have rolled it down massive hills. I have abused it. I've like just full power up massive climbs. It's been through mud, you know, up to the windows. It's been in water up to the windows. It's taken an absolute beating, and it's still going. And I think it's about time that I gave it some TLC. So that's what's coming. There's going to be a build series of videos. So this is part one. We're going to have the strip down. I may or may not film the strip down. We'll see. I might do it and then kind of time lapse, because I've never stripped it before. So bits of it might be really slow, but we'll see. I definitely will show you it once it's open, a bit like I've done the kind of MC strip, so you can have a look at the kind of condition it's in, because I am really intrigued. I am thinking about, as much as I dislike them, getting some metal axles for it. That you can get ones from China that are much cheaper, seem the same spec to me, but they're £30 for two rather than 50 for one, but you just got to wait for them. Just to keep the weight low, this chassis is, and the body shells with it, it makes it very top heavy. And I don't think, I still remain that the metal axles are good for kind of general agility and climbing, but they are good for keeping weight down low, but that means for climbing they're not so good in my experience. But I don't really want this for climbing. I've got one very good light climbing truck in my SCX, so this would be to ride better. So service shocks, service axles, money dependent. I'm not ordering the axles yet, because, or anything fancy in the portals, because you can get metal versions of these. I want to see what state they're in, because it might strip screws, it might, all sorts might be wrong. So yeah. Where's the ice cream man? I'm off to get a 99 flake, and yeah, so stay tuned and keep up with, you know, watching these. We haven't done a kind of, you know, in-depth strip down build video. I know they're popular, so hopefully you guys will like this. And yeah, bearing in mind this I'm expecting it to be bad, so we'll see. This has been probably one of the worst treated TRXs there is. I'm expecting some bad things, but You never know, we could be surprised. But thanks as always for watching, folks, and we hope you liked the video. And yeah, this is going to be a good project, and it's going to be good to see how it turns out. So stay tuned, thanks for watching, please like and subscribe, and bye for now.